Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast. If you're in a marital crisis or you know someone who is, that's what I do. There won't be any crisis you present to me that I haven't heard before and dealt with before. And unlike a lot of Christian counselors who are well-meaning people, I'm not passive. I'm not going to not know what to do. I'm not going to have to spend 4 or 5, 6 times with you. I'm going to tell you first time what to do. There'll be a plan of action, a book of mine that will apply specific instructions, what not to do and what to do. That's what I bring to the table. With my phone advice, you can talk to me for 45 minutes. It's just a credit card payment. Just before we talk, it's usually scheduled via email. Just email me at David E. Clarke, PhD, Clarke with an E, David E. Clarke, PhD, at gmail.com. We set it up via email. 70% of my practice is now these phone advice sessions. It's maybe 1, maybe 2. And I'll give you the strategy going forward. It's not ongoing therapy. It's not therapy at all. It's phone advice. You can follow up with a local therapist if you want, but I'll tell you what to do. That's what my job is. And you'll learn over 35 years what to do and what not to do. Now, my books, my podcast, my YouTube channel, my phone advice are all on my website, David E. Clarke, Clarke with an A, davideclarkephd.com, designed by Phil Dugas of Dugas Creative. You need a website design or a redesign. We had an old website that was a disaster. It was cluttered. It was messy. Phil came in, cleaned the whole thing up. It looks spectacular, if I do say so myself. You need social media. He's the guy for you, Dugas Creative. Google that. He'll help you. Now, before I do part 2 of how to manage your ex, and that is today's topic, I'll answer a question a podcast subscriber emailed to me. And this fits with the whole divorce theme. Here's her question. I've been divorced for a year. I've been dating a great guy for a few months. I really like him, she says. He could be the guy for me. Solid Christian, admits the mistakes he made in his previous marriage. That's good. Loves Jesus. Have to have that. We have a lot of fun together. Now, this is early on, but she's very encouraged. My ex, here's the key. My ex-husband is suddenly interested in reconciling. I bet he is. He's asked me to stop dating this man. He wants our family back together. That's what he says. He says he's back with Jesus, and will do anything to win me back. And we're going to find out. He wants to see a counselor together. Okay, here's my answer to this person. And you might be in the same situation or know someone who is. My answer, number 1, keep dating the man you're dating and tell him what your ex has said. No secrets, everything on the table. You've already covered with probably this new man what the ex was like and why the marriage failed, whatever else, but let him know what's happening, and you don't stop dating. We are early on in this process. 2, be extremely skeptical. If you weren't dating, your ex wouldn't be talking reconciliation, and you know it. This is the kind of guy, maybe, we'll find out, he has a lot to prove, but the kind of guy that, doesn't want anybody else to have you. It's not that he really loves you and wants the family. He doesn't want anybody else to have you. Well, that's not a good enough reason. He won't say that, but that may be true. We're going to find out. 3, do not see a counselor with your ex. Not now. Maybe not ever. Your ex has a lot of work to do before you'd ever show up in a couple's counseling office with him. Number 4, tell your ex you're not interested and you will offer 0 guarantees. Boom. I don't love you anymore. I'm dating someone new. I have no use for you. But if he wants to try, he'll have to spend 6 months working on himself. Use that term 6 months. That scares a lot of them off. 6 months? I'm ready now. No, you're not, because you're going to make sure. He may have fooled you before and you went through a nightmare of a marriage with him. You're not going to be anything but skeptical. If he's not serious, he's not going to do any of the things that you're going to ask him to do. And I would say, number 5, give him the list of requirements in my book, Enough is Enough, How to Leave an Abusive Relationship. They're also in My Spouse Wants Out. But here's a modified version. This is what you're going to tell him to do. And it's even more effective if you don't give these to him directly, but through maybe your mother, your dad, your brother, some other person, a close friend, so you're removed from your ex. You say, look, give these list of things to my ex and let's see what he does. So don't even do it personally. And here's the list. Number 1, you will see, if you're serious, you will see a Christian licensed therapist once a week for a minimum of 6 months. You will find out why you sinned and you'll get into recovery. You'll learn how to not be selfish and how to meet my needs. You will learn how to be a godly man and husband and father. Minimum 6 months. You'll also sign a release allowing me, if I choose, I may not, but if I choose, to get updates from your therapist on your progress. He probably won't even do the first one, but again, through your go-between, you're going to give him the list. Fair is fair. Let's see if he's serious. 2, as part of your individual therapy, you will write a complete history of how you have sinned against me in our marriage, written out in detail. From the beginning of our relationship until we divorce. Lay it out and be honest. You will include any serious sins you committed that I don't know about. You will own 100% responsibility for your sinful behavior, and you'll send this document to my representative, my go-between, within the next 3 months. He's not going to do this, but again, he says he wants to save your marriage or get remarried, then he better do it. 3, you will tell the truth of how you sinned against me, the mistakes you've made in the marriage. You'll tell that to your pastor, to my new pastor, your church leaders, your family, my family, and our children. If you've lied to others and slandered me, you will admit your lies and state the truth. After you have told the truth to these persons, you'll ask each of them to call me to tell me what you said to them. See, because you can't trust him. He'll say, you don't trust me? Of course I don't trust you. That's why you're my ex. And again, you'll take care of this within the next 3 months, talking to these individuals. Number 4, you'll join a Celebrate Recovery group and stay in the group until you've completed an entire step study. That will take months, maybe longer than 6 months. Tough. That's what I'm asking you to do if you're the one that wants me back. He's not going to do this, is he? He'll wash out. And there's your answer. Number 5, and this, of course, is a critical one. You will work to grow spiritually by taking these steps. You'll attend church every week. You'll step down from any position of authority you now have in the church. Leadership, service. All right, you'll step down. You'll join a small group Bible study, a men's group possibly. You'll tell the group about your sinful behavior, the things you did to destroy your marriage. You'll meet with a godly man once a week for spiritual guidance and accountability. And I will have access, if I choose, to that person you're working with, that spiritual mentor. And again, this could be the same guy that you're using, but number 6 is find one godly man who will hold you accountable in your whole process of therapy and reconciliation, your spiritual process, all the actions on this list. And it could be the same man who's coaching you spiritually. It's a once a week face-to-face meeting, and that's what you tell him. Okay, that's a reasonable list. If he's serious about reconciling, and he knows you continue to date this new guy and you have no use for him and you're not giving him any guarantees, because you tell him you could do every single one of these through your go-between. You can do every single one of these points and be the next Billy Graham, and I might not care and I might have nothing to do with you. You put him in that spot. The right man who really wants to reconcile will get to work, and he will win you back. Okay. If he actually follows through and does all these things, we have a possibility, okay? And at that point, if for 6 months he's taking care of this and it looks like he's doing well, at that point, you might just suspend the dating relationship. And if God's directing your heart and opening your heart up to possibly forgiving and reconciling with him, you can start couple counseling. Still separated, of course, but you'll start couple counseling to see if, in fact, the marriage can be reconciled. Okay, now here's part 2 of managing your ex. This category is don't get sucked into his sin and stupidity, and exes have a lot of both, typically. A crazy, bitter ex wants you to be miserable. In his nutball world, you have to be punished forever for your crimes against him. And even if he divorced you for bogus reasons, guess whose fault the divorce is? Yours. He blames you. Or if you had the nerve to divorce him for biblical reason, it really is your fault. Never, ever show him emotion. Never. You'll have emotion. You don't show it to him. He wants an angry, hurt response from you. He wants to stoke you. He wants to upset you and to know you're upset. He lives for that. A nasty ex does. Never let him know he's getting to you. He's a bully and he's trying to get a reaction out of you. So don't ever give him a reaction. You stay cool and reasonable. That's why the text and the email, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, are so important. In person, he might see some emotion. You might break down, over the phone even. That's why you don't do those things. He'll never stop trying to make you suffer. But your no response to his stupid, nasty comments will slow him down. If you don't get a reaction as a bully, you move on to somebody else. Now, he won't give it up entirely, but he won't do it as much. Don't defend yourself. He wants to draw you into these arguments, and you just say, that's not true, and this is what you do. No, you're divorced from him. Who cares? Don't defend yourself. Don't waste another second of your life trying to reason with this idiot. Don't do it. He's a fool, and you don't reason with fools. The Bible says that. In Proverbs 14:7, 17:10, 23:9, many places, especially in Proverbs, don't mess around with a fool. This guy's a fool. Now, feel free, and it's important to vent your emotions with God and your support team. He will drive you nuts. He will cause pain. Never show him that, but vent it with your support team and God. Go into your backyard and rip off a massive scream. That's okay, just so he doesn't know it. Now, when he sends you a long, rambling rant by text or email, and he's going to do that, covering all kinds of stupid stuff, scan that thing and only respond to the pertinent issues, things that you actually have to respond to, nothing else. Divorce means you don't have to respond to his verbal abuse anymore, and you won't. And just about everything is separate with an X. That's what divorce means. You have every right to not be in his physical presence until it's absolutely necessary, unless it is. Even though you'll forgive him, all right, and this book will help you forgive him. I didn't want a divorce, and that's important biblically. Even though you'll forgive him, that doesn't mean you have to put up with him and be in his presence, or even like him. So just about every special event needs to be done separately. Birthdays, holidays, vacations, get-togethers with your family. A lot of these mean exes want to be invited to those things and kind of do it together so we can torture you. No, you don't have to do that, and you're not going to do that. He's not invited to any of these events. Follow the divorce agreement and do these events separately. Holidays are split, or you get this Thanksgiving, he gets next Thanksgiving next year, or you do half day, whatever, but you don't do it with him. When you and he both attend one of your children's activities, and there's some things you can't avoid, baptisms or sporting events, you know how it is, weddings, whatever, funerals, you sit away from him and you say nothing to him. You don't have to. And the first few times, I'd ask a family member or a friend to go with you just so you got some moral support. And again, if you have to be in the same room with him, the same building with him at some event, again, you can avoid him. Nothing wrong with that. You don't have to act like you like him. Divorce means you can do most events separately. Now, I've got a section here on coaching your kids. They have to deal with this guy too. If your ex is abusive, and many are, coach your kids how to deal with him. They need to practice responding to his lies, his attacks on you, his manipulation, his broken promises, his attempts to pump them for information about you, his attempts to win them over and get them to live with him full time. You tell your kids not to ever directly confront their father in his sinful behavior. That never works, and with an abuser, he will fire back and make their lives miserable and cause real damage. It's smarter and safer, all right, to stay busy with other activities when with him. You tell your kids, never talk about you with him, and to come up with short, stock replies to his attempts to force them into awkward conversations. And teenagers especially are good at this. Teens by nature put you off and don't want to talk to you. Tell them just to do what comes naturally. They can say, okay, Dad, fine, Dad. I don't know. I don't know is a great teen response. I don't know. I don't want to talk about that. Let me think about that. And if he's a narcissist, they can switch the topic to him, his life, who he's dating, what he's doing, his job. He loves that, talking about himself, and it might just work. Divorce means you don't have to leave your kids defenseless against his sinful behavior, and you need to coach him up. And a good therapist will help you do that. And I say in closing, don't block him from your social media. Oh no. Let him see how happy you are and how well you are doing. That'll drive him nuts and drive him further away from you. Let him see happy photos of you and the kids, you and your family, you and your friend, you at church activities. You're having the time of your life. He'll hate seeing you happy and will engage with you less. And with a difficult ex, less is good. Divorce means you can be happy and indirectly show him that you're happy. Now, we've covered a lot of important ground to this point in the podcast series. You're ready now to do the work of deeper healing. All these steps, of course, go in order. It's a step-by-step process. Next, I'm going to show you in several podcasts how to forgive. Now, forgiveness isn't easy, and many Christians, even Christian experts, think they know how to forgive. They don't. There's a series of steps that must be taken to truly forgive your ex, and to forgive yourself, and to work things out with God, and to forgive others who harmed you in the divorce process, and even others before you even married this guy or this woman. You need to do a lot of healing and forgiveness. It is a process. It is not just a spiritual process. It certainly is. God gets it done. With his power, he gets it done, but it's also an emotional process. A lot of Christian experts say, well, just pray. It's a very brief thing, healing ceremony. That doesn't work. God works through the process of forgiveness. I'm going to show you how to do that. That's coming up beginning next week. I'm going to show you how to forgive. Now, keep in mind, if you want to help us save marriages, and I hope you do, help spouses in crisis, help ex-spouses to heal from their divorce and get a reset, subscribe to my podcast, this podcast, and share the podcast with others. And leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. So until next time, Dr. David E. Clarke, PhD, signing off.